Hey, Shalom. Would like to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakunash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. This is the brother Yachanan from the GMS Houston camp, and this is just a quick lesson, looking at current events, what's happened today, June 11th, you know, keeping up because this is, very very important times that are taking place. While it might seem like gas prices might be going down just a little bit, whatever, or things seem to be coming back to normal, but they're not. Things aren't going back to pre 2020, just like how things never went back to normal after 2001. But this is I put in here on the Google Trump Karg Island because this is what's taking place. This is in the Strait of Hormuz, the island that's in there that you know Trump has been talking about taking over, and then the plans of taking it over seem disastrous. For the Babylonian side, but just reading, President Donald Trump has threatened to seize Karg Island, and this man is constantly sending out threats, taking them back, doing this. We made a deal. We didn't make a deal. Or you know, this man is very unstable, and this is a part of prophecy. These are very unstable times that we're in. Just you can look at the people around you. The people around you that aren't in this truth are not wound too tight. You President Donald Trump has threatened to seize Karg Island, Iran's primary oil export hub. So this is like Iran's. I say Iran. Used to saying Iran, but somebody from Iran told me it's pronounced Iran. But Iran, this is their major. Matter of fact, let's see, because I like doing this, just highlighting, insertion, Iran's, see if it says the same thing, primary oil export hub. Iran's primary oil export hub is Karg Island, a tiny, strategically critical coral island in the Persian Gulf. Located about 25 to 30 kilometers off the Iranian mainland, it produces roughly 90 to 96% of Iran's total crude oil exports. God, dog, if they take that island, that's gonna mess Iran up, making the financial lifeline of the Iranian economy. Due to its deep water jetties that can accommodate massive tankers, it functions as the central artery for Iran's oil trade, most of which is exported to Asia. So if a pretty much if this island gets taken, that's gonna mess up Iran. That's gonna mess up the oil. It's gonna mess up. This is gonna affect you already. This is gonna affect China, but already seeing how the gas prices have jumped up. Maybe $1, $2, $1.50, however much, because of the strait. The strait being closed, open, closed, open. And the instability in the area. This is going to affect it way more. Like this is going to affect, like things are bad now, but expect them to get worse. So going back to the other tab, and I'm going to get to some precepts here in a second, but just getting a little. I don't have many precepts, but just linking this up with what's happening, linking prophecy up to current events, and it's beautiful. The whole day has been like, man, I feel like shit. I know I need to do a lesson, but I'm feeling like shit. And now that I'm doing the lesson, all that is gone. So the water Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. The water Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So President Donald Trump has threatened to seize Karg Island, Iran's primary oil export hub, as part of an escalation in the ongoing conflict. And remember, Joel 3 says, hey, all these nations are going to be gathered together in the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, which is Iran, where this judgment is going to take place. So it's just escalating. That fire is building up. You know, this is beautiful how the Lord is playing this out and how He's moving every piece and putting it into place. You know, on June 11th, 2026, he vowed to hit Iran very hard tonight. So tonight, expect if this goes through, expect gas prices to be fucking high as hell tomorrow, even higher than they are right now. So just thinking about that. And they have live updates. I'm not going to go into any of this stuff. They got it out there. This is for time's sake, and plus I don't have unlimited data like that. If I was on the Wi-Fi, that'd be straight. It says recent developments and threats. On June 11th, 2026, President Trump intensified his rhetoric regarding Iran's strategic energy assets. Direct threat to seize the hub. Trump posted on Truth Social that the U.S. would be taking Karg Island and other oil infrastructure in the not too distant future. And remember, they just increased the draft age. I believe it was 35 at one point. Now it's 42. They've removed the requirements for training. A lot of different training for the Army. So a lot of the training, specialized training, and you probably just going through through basic boot camp, and that's it. Can you run? Can you jump? Can you hold a gun? What you need a helmet for it. You're shit. Don't even bother getting a uniform. Just go out in your regular clothes. Yeah. You're gonna get you can get a Hellcat when you get back. Yeah, Hellcat. Yeah, shit, you can get two. Your ass ain't coming back. And it says, and other oil infrastructure in the not too distant future. Okay, it says very hard strikes. He warned of imminent, powerful military strikes scheduled for the night of June 11th, following a round of attacks the previous day that reportedly involved $250 million worth of munitions. So here it is. Hey, and Trump recently said, "Hey, I don't care about inflation." They've been saying they don't care about you citizens. They are doing it. Hey, this what's going on right now is to bring in the MOTB, this system, to bring it and running this bitch into the fucking ground, and then bringing in the new system. That's why this man is here. That's why you have this. Can't remember if I mentioned it in the lesson I did going into management and the leadership they put in place. This man is put in place to drive this motherfucker into the ground, to make it go bankrupt. That's his specialty. The Venezuelan model. Trump compared his plan to the recent operations in Venezuela, suggesting the U.S. could manage Iran's oil revenues through a Treasury Department account. So just going in there, hijacking this shit, using a couple of energy weapons, whatever like that, taking the leader out, boom, bada bing, boom, easy. Wrong. All this is putting you in a situation, Lord will I remember that, where you're not going to be able to remove your neck. So expressed hesitation. Despite his definitive social media posts, Trump told Fox News he wasn't sure if America has the appetite or stomach for a ground operation on the island. So that's pretty much it. Military risk. Analysts warned Reuters that while the U.S. could seize the island quickly, holding it would leave troops vulnerable to constant missile and drone attacks, potentially prolonging the war. So it's going to be a trap. Y'all take that island, hey, it's going to be bad for you. Let's just get a precept real quick. This is because he sounds unsure. This man is unstable. That's why he's in there. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 9, and I'll start at verse 1 in the GNT. It says, he answered, consider all these things very carefully. When you see that some of the signs I have told you about when you see some of the signs I have told you about have appeared, You will know that the time has come when the Most High, Yahweh, will bring judgment on the world he has created. So these are the signs of the passing. In the sense, it says, Yahweh Shai says the same thing in Matthew 24 and also in Luke. And Yahweh Shai, and it says it all throughout the scriptures, but primarily in Matthew 24, Yahweh Shai says, hey, there's going to be wars, rumors of wars. You're going to see earthquakes. You're going to see pretty much the same things are going to be listed here. Verse 3, it says there will be earthquakes, national rebellions. Let's see what pops up. If I were to do the okay, if I can just highlight it. National rebellions. National rebellions are armed uprisings or movements aimed at overthrowing a ruling government, seceding from an empire, or achieving self-determination. While some are quickly suppressed, those that succeed in fundamentally changing political structures transition into revolutions. So that's going way back then. But let's see. National Rebellion Day. National Rebellion Day takes place July 26th in Cuba. Interesting. Okay, so national rebellions and major civil uprisings in 2026 include widespread anti-government protests in Iran triggered by economic crisis, mass anti. And it says in Iran. Remember they were having those protests back in. I guess they're still going on. You don't really see no news about it, but back in February? Man, it's June now. Mass anti-immigration mobilization. Oh, and dang, I forgot. It's I want to say it's Ireland, but I don't know if it is Ireland. Where they're having like mass anti-immigration protests. They're like burning houses. Man, mass anti-immigration mobilization in Bolivia and large-scale coordinated No Kings demonstrations across the United States opposing expanded federal immigration policies and democratic backsliding. So this is beautiful how you can just highlight and search and then link it to the scriptures because like I didn't know what this was. But anyway, the No King in the U.S. and No Kings protests, which there's more than the No Kings, immigration enforcement uprisings, you know, Iran, the regime change uprisings in Bolivia, National Rebellion Day, which they got more stuff going on in this, but that's just what highlighted. So there will be Second Ezra 9 and verse 3 in the GNT. There will be earthquakes and national rebellions, international intrigues, unstable leaders, which we're looking at. Hey, Biden was unstable. Trump is even worse. It's open, it's closed, it's this, it's that, isn't it? We're gonna bomb them. We're not gonna bomb them. I'm not sure if they want to do that. Oh, I don't care about the people. And then his cabinet, they treat him like as if he's not a man, but he's a god. It says there will be earthquakes, national rebellions, international intrigues, unstable leaders, and confused rulers. When you see these things happening, you will know that they are what the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, has spoken about since the beginning of creation. The beginning and the end of everything that happens in this world are clear. The same is true in the world above. Wonders and miracles show the beginning of events, and mighty signs show when they end. So this is beautiful times that we're in. This is the time of the end. This is the end of this empire, the end of this kingdom, the end of this beast, the end of the Roman Empire. We're at the feet and the toes of the statue that was iron and miry clay, and now we're waiting for that stone that was carved without hands. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get that since it's on my mind. Since Let's see what it says in this. It's Daniel 2. Let's say 39. This is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 44. Let me see. Let me see if I can. Daniel 2 and 44. Let's see. I'm really trying to pull up the. Not that. There we go. I don't know. I'm not really sure why it does that on when I pull up the GNT. Like it won't let me pull up the other translations. Daniel 2 and 44. Let me see, because it's a little further up. This is Daniel chapter 2 and 34, and this is in the NLT. As you watched, and this is a Daniel breaking down the dreams to Nebuchadnezzar. You know, he's seeing a great statue at the head of gold. You know, it had a chest and arms of silver, had thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and then feet of iron mixed with miry clay. So Daniel chapter 2 and verse 34 in NLT, it says, as you watched, a rock was cut from a mountain, but not by human hands. It struck the feet of iron and clay, smashing them to bits. The whole statue was crushed into small pieces of iron, clay, bronze, silver, and gold. Then the wind blew them away without a trace, like chaff on a threshing floor. But the rock that knocked the statue down became a great mountain that covered the whole earth. And this is speaking of Yahushua. You know, he's coming to take this last kingdom out. And the signs that are given in 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, and all throughout the scriptures, you know, Matthew 24, are the signs of Yahushua's return. And when Yahushua returns, he's coming to take these kingdoms. Matter of fact, I wasn't going to get anything else from that. But looking at, okay, I had National Rebellion. Then also I had here the 2nd Ezra 9 and 3. I just put in here because I couldn't remember exactly where the precept was, but I put in here 2nd Ezra's GNT and confused rulers. You know, because I remember the keyword, you know, the key words, you know, for the GNT, and it says in 2nd Ezra's 9 and 3 of the Good News translation, the phrase "unstable leaders and confused rulers" point to the political and social chaos expected during the signs of the end. Let's see what I want to see what pops up. I want to see what this says. Oh, hold on. What did it say? What did it say? Dane magazine, how political chaos is affecting Americans' mental health. So here it says political and social chaos refers to the breakdown of established institutional norms, leading to widespread public disorder, instability, and fractured social cohesion. It generally stems from interlocking crises, such as economic disparity, institutional mistrust, and political polarization. I'm going to come back to this, but let's put it 2026. So I put in there economic disparity, institutional mistrust, and political polarization 2026. Widening wealth gaps, deep-rooted effective polarization, and historically low trust in public and democratic institutions continue to reinforce one another. Driven by perceived economic unfairness and media ecosystems, these compounded crises increasingly fracture social cohesion and democratic engagement. So the deepening wealth gap, concentration of wealth, the wealthiest fraction of the global population now controls a vast majority of personal wealth, exacerbated exacerbating socioeconomic disparities. That's from Facebook. So I don't know how much you can trust that. Oh, that's from Facebook. Oh, he asked Google for the information. Oh, you can't trust that source. Nigga, fuck you. Systemic inequality, labor and housing market structures, as well as uneven tax policies, fuel a persistent cycle where upper class holds an outsized influence on national priorities compared to ordinary voters. Let me read that one more time. Labor and housing market structures. Yeah, you can't get a good job. Hey, the jobs aren't paying. You can't buy a house, like you could, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. I don't know. I've never been in the market to buy a house. That's always been outside of my fucking whatever the fuck, my wheelhouse, outside of my pocket, outside of my range. Shit. I never even thought like shit. I could buy a house. It's never even come to mind. Think about it like that. Buying a house, buying a new car. That's never even fucking come to mind in all my years. In all my years. It says public sentiment polling indicates that the majority of Americans support higher taxes on the wealthy and feel politicians are far more responsive to campaign donors than they are to their constituents. Yeah, them the ones that put in their money. Them the ones that are donating to them. What you think you're doing? And they probably got some blackmail on them. It says a loss of institutional trust. Historical lows. Trust in the U.S. federal government hovers at historical lows, with only a fractional percentage of Americans expressing high confidence. Political polarization. I think I got the gist of it. Let's go back to. It says it generally stems from interlocking crises. So, also when you look at these crises, you look at the fall of a civilization. Usually, that civilization is affected by not just one crisis, but a multiple crises, or what they call it, a poly. And they were saying it last week. That poly crisis, something like that. It's lucky. I can't remember how it's said, but it's multiple crises going on at the same time. You have immigration, borders, your military spread too thin, your economy is crashing. You're having famines, you're having natural disasters. You're having all kinds of things going on that that are affecting you, and you can't solve. Pretty much, what I'm thinking of, like what happens to me, is like you have so much going on, you have so many problems to fix that you end up doing nothing. But that's what me. When I get you know overwhelmed with stuff sometimes. But that's pretty much what happened. They have so many problems going on, and there is no way to fix any of these problems. Because this is the judgment of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. These problems are not meant to be fixed. What's going to fix these problems is Yahweh Shai saving his elect and this place being destroyed by fire. That's going to solve all the problems. That's it. Matter of fact, I think I'll still read that. So, economic disparity, institutional mistrust, and political polarization that leave communities feeling abandoned and disillusioned with traditional governments. Yeah, Bowdoin don't do shit. It's never done shit. You ain't know. You just now figuring it out. The phenomenon materializes in several specific ways and brings about consequences. International and ecological tensions. Political instability is increasingly driven by global ecological and economic breakdowns. Inflation-driven hardship and resource competition amplify conflicts far beyond traditional military, geopolitical, and ideological borders. So, resource competition. The need for Lord, will I get that real quick? What is it? There's man shall have no pity on his neighbor. Is that this one? think that's in 15. So let's get this. It might be 16. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. Second Ezra chapter 15, and I'll start at 14. In the GNT, the world and the people in it are doomed. The war that will bring their destruction is very near. The nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. Is that not what happening right now? You see nations arming up, but it's going to escalate further to where it's officially going to be World War III. Right now, it's just little old bully Iran picking on old America. Why don't you let Iran? Why don't you let America have your oil? Why are you hogging it? Just give up the island. You're being real greedy, Iran. It's sarcasm. Anyway, the war that will bring their destruction is very near. Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. There will be great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control. Does that sound like what was said in Second Ezra, the 9th chapter? You know, with the how do you say? Dang, I just said it. With the national rebellions, you know, sedition, and things like this. They're trying to take over. They're tired of being, you know, let down and held down by, you know, the government that should be taking care of them. You know, it said they're filling their own, lining their own pockets, while ignoring the legitimate government. There will no longer be free access to cities, 15-minute cities, infrastructure being cut off, you know, certain places just being destroyed. You know, but most of it, you see these flock cameras popping up. All these things popping up for a reason. So where you traveling, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be monitored. You're not going to have I want to go to Houston today. I want to go to Austin. Nah, you ain't got the carbon credits for it. Matter of fact, you've already driven too much. Dock them. Matter of fact, you were driving past curfew. So we got you on that. Dock them again, Jimmy. That's the AI Jimmy. Robot. It's not going to be a person behind it. It's just going to be AI. You ain't gonna be able to go to court and you know, try to get out of paying it. Nah, ain't gonna be no judge. It's gonna be the AI judge. Just speaking. It says verse 17: there will no longer be free access to the cities, because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. So going back to, where was I? Let's move this here. So it said inflation-driven hardship and resource competition amplify conflicts far beyond traditional military. So the military, that they're doing, that's one thing. But what's going on now? This is beyond the military. It's gonna be like a free for all, like a battle royale. You know, you've been playing them, you know, Fortnite and fucking PUBG. You know, playing the Division, playing Rust, playing what's that new game? The one that has, I forgot the name of it. It's some new game where it's like it has AI like integrated into the game and whatnot, and you kind of fight against robots and you collect resources and whatnot. That's shit. That's all that stuff is just simulation, preparing you. You know, so resource competition amplify conflicts far beyond traditional military, geopolitical, or ideological borders. So, hey, the resources, when it comes, hey, you can do all the political. I'm this, I'm that, I'm right, I'm left, this, that, whatever. But when them resources start dwindling, all that shit is out the fucking window. It says they shall mercilessly plunder their neighbors for the lack of food, you know, the lack of resources. The need for chaos research indicates that a subset of highly marginalized individuals develop an explicit desire to actively incite chaos, to invert power structures, and punish political establishments. This manifests in the widespread sharing of hostile, destructive rumors across the entire political spectrum. So you hear wars, rumors of wars, you'll have a rumor. But all this stuff And this is when you're looking at it, it's like, man, this does look kind of orchestrated. Because even the Iran, that was a simulation back, what, 20, 25 years ago? They did the same thing. But moving on, because all these conflicts, all this is going to escalate. Uh, here, I had here, I mean, this over says, what are possible outcomes if the U.S. invades Karg? It says, an invasion and seizure of Karg Island, the centerpiece of Iran's oil-based economy, would severely cripple Tehran's energy exports. Yeah, because it's 90%. That's 90% of all Iran's like oil exports. It said 90 to 96%. But it carries immense military and economic risk. The operation could result in a dangerous escalation of conflict, high casualties for U.S. forces, and potential global energy crisis. So this here, this is going to make things worse. And the men of the Lord, hey, all for it. Go for it. You got it, Trump. You the man. Go ahead, do it. Let's go. Severe economic disruption, loss of revenue. Karg Island handles up to 90% of Iran's oil exports. Taking or destroying the facility would choke off the lifeblood of the Iranian economy. Global energy spikes, a prolonged conflict or blockade of the Persian Gulf could destroy regional energy infrastructure, sending crude oil prices soaring and pushing the global economy toward a recession. Shit, go ahead, do it. Extreme military risks to the U.S. troops, vulnerability to counterattacks, while U.S. amphibious forces would likely prevail in an initial takeover. The island's close proximity to the Iranian mainland, about 15 to 20 miles, leaves occupying U.S. troops highly vulnerable to Iranian artillery, missiles, and drone swarms. So they out there and they sit in ducks, and they got that stuff for the cheap, especially them drones. Shit, I don't know if you watch the videos from Ukraine. That shit is fucking terrifying. And they also recently, I saw that they had the first death by an autonomous drone, meaning that somebody wasn't behind it, controlling it with a remote control and a camera. No, it was a drone that was just out there on its own. It's a broad regional escalation, since Iran's hardliners would likely escalate the conflict by intensifying attacks on U.S. military bases and regional Gulf energy infrastructure. Tehran shipping blockades. Tehran could attempt to close the Strait of Hormuz by deploying additional sea mines, firing on commercial vessels, and further disrupting critical global supply lines. Says there's a limited strategic leverage. Regime resolve. Historical precedent suggests that destroying Iranian infrastructure may stiffen the regime's resolve, embolden hardliners, and fail to force Iran into total surrender. That's it. I'm gonna get from that. There's another one I put in here. What needs to take place for Russia and China to join Iran? And it says, for Russia and China to directly join the conflict alongside Iran, a major geopolitical threshold must be crossed. Currently, their involvement is based on strategic convenience rather than a formal mutual defense treaty. The following conditions would likely need to occur to pull them into a direct confrontation. Formal alliance commitments. Russia and China would require a binding formal treaty of mutual defense. Neither Beijing nor Moscow currently has an obligation to militarily intervene on Tehran's behalf if Iran is engaged in a conflict with the United States or regional allies. They don't? I thought they did. I thought I really. Huh. That's interesting. It says direct threat to supreme interest. A major existential threat to the current Iranian regime would need to materialize because both countries rely on Iran to tie up Western military resources. The disrupt regional hegemony and supply resources, a swift defeat of Iran by the U.S. or its allies would severely disrupt the geopolitical balance. It says economic and geopolitical calculations. China and Russia would need to determine that the benefits of actively engaging in a war with the West outweigh the devastating economic costs of being targeted by Western sanctions. Beijing has massive economic and trade ties with the Persian Gulf, Arab states, and Israel, which far outweigh its trade with Iran. This doesn't even look like what I'm just reading. This doesn't. Let me see something. Is that, man? That's kind of weird. Like it's I just looked at this, but I'm pretty sure that's not what it just said. I fucking hate this shit. Oh, here we go. Diplomatic leverage. Both nations currently view the ongoing conflict as a way to stretch U.S. resources thin and bolster their standing as diplomatic mediators. They would likely need to conclude that diplomatic mediation and proxy support have entirely failed and that the total collapse of the Iranian regime is imminent and unavoidable before escalating their conflict. So in other words, they need a reason to join in, and it has to be like, hey, Iran really is about to collapse or some shit. Like in other words. So let's see here. That's crazy because that I know I mentioned it the other day, but that's really I hate that shit because I know it didn't say that. It said something else when I first looked at it, and I got to get in the habit of screenshotting these things. But it says Ezekiel 38 and verse 2, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, which is a modern day Russia, the land of Magog, which just means of God, which is still referring to that land, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all that army, horses, and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. So that the hooks, because right now it's saying, hey, they're not going to join because they don't really have a reason. Let's go back to it. It says, no, that's not the right one. This one. What needs to take place for Russia and China to join to bring Russia and China into a formal military or political union with Iran. Current international Hey, what the? Nah, it's right now. Nah, see, man. Hey, right here, it says something different. That is, oh man, I guess because it's refreshing and it's gonna say something different. But no, I ain't making no excuses for it. I am not tripping. There, man. Fuck you. Anyway, it says to bring Russia and China into a formal military or political union with Iran, several major shifts in current international dynamics would need to occur. While these nations are already part of an informal axis of evasion, or the CRINC, China, Russia, that's what they call it? I think they call it China, Russia, Iran, North Korea grouping, their alignment remains primarily transactional rather than a formal mutual defense alliance. For Russia and China to join Iran in a more binding capacity, let me rephrase it like this. For Russia and China to directly enter the war on Iran's side, need there would likely need to be a severe existential threat to the Iranian regime or a major shift in how both powers calculate their global strategies. So there need to be a major shift. Currently, neither country is bound by formal tripartite mutual defense treaties with Iran, and both have deliberately avoided direct military conflict or direct military intervention into conflict. So both Moscow, existential threat. Anyway, that's all in there. But and I will turn thee, Ezekiel 34, 38 and verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, right there. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. Right there, Persia. That's modern. That was the ancient name for Iran. Ethiopia, still Ethiopia, and Libya with them. All of them with shield and helmet. Let me see here. Gomer and all his bands in the house of Togarma and of the north quarters and all his bands, like many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So, hey, that's Russia going to be guarding. Hey, so I put in here: could Russia be a guard to Iran in the future? And it says Russia could function as a strategic protector or ally to Iran, but it is highly unlikely to act as a direct military guard due to its own strategic limitations and ongoing commitments in Ukraine. The nature of the Russia-Iran relationship is defined by several key factors: deep strategic partnership. Russia and Iran share a long-standing geopolitical alignment, formalized by a 20-year Iranian-Russian treaty on comprehensive strategic partnership. This pact involves extensive economic cooperation and technological integration to jointly counter Western sanctions. Military cooperation. The relationship features significant technological and military exchange. Russia provides Iran with advanced technologies such as satellite intelligence and Su-30 SM-2 fighter jets. It says absence of mutual defense. While the treaty requires consultations regarding security threats, it does not contain a mutual defense clause. Russian leadership has deliberately refrained from direct combat involvement to avoid being dragged into conflicts. Hey, well, this here that says, hold on, Ukraine war strained Moscow's capacity to deploy troops to provide direct, large-scale physical protection is severely constrained by its military engagement in Ukraine. Hey, the Lord's going to sort that out. The Lord's going to make it. The Lord's going to put hooks in your jaws. The Lord's going to bring you to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. Hey, and that's really it for the lesson. Lord willing, it's been edifying. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. And shalom.